So the programs in the middle school and in the elementary schools are very crucial, because once they're gone, once that child loses that 1 year, they've lost a lot. It's not regaining. And we have to, Sean is correct, I think Mike is correct, I think we all feel this way, that everybody has to come to the table. And we have to come to the table, and we have to make the sacrifices that, in essence, we're really asking our children to make. They don't have a choice, but we do. So when we speak of our teachers, when we speak of the police, we speak of the fire, general government, and we speak to have them speak to their unions, to come forward and help us out, and therefore help themselves out. Because if we all really one town, we all need to work together on this issue. If we don't, then we have to make decisions like the school is making. They don't want to make those decisions. The school committee is making. We have to make decisions that we don't want to. When I look at town government, I look at things I don't like to look at. For example, I keep mentioning it for the schools, and I suggest this for the town. We have to at least look at custodial services. I don't know how much savings there would be, but there must be savings in there, and if there is, then we should take advantage of it. If there are not, then at least we know we can go forward. Town government is responsible for essential services, services that the town cannot function without. And we need to look at the programs that do not address that issue. And unfortunately, recreation falls under that, and youth services fall under that. They're not essential. They do not make this town run, though we know their value. Okay, so we have to think out of our box. We all have to come forward one way or the other. The residents of this town are hurting all around. If not everyone, most everyone. This is a really, really bad economy, and it demands that we all rise to the occasion and come together and say, okay, I don't need this much because it'll save the education of our children, or it will save youth services, or it will save our need for recreation, because we're coming forward. So we need to concentrate on the essential services that are required, and we all need to come forward. I think that this board has been wrestling with the hard decisions and trying to come up with solutions. But we only have so much to work with, and unless we're given more to work with by everybody in the town, we're going to be stuck having to either lay people off or have very limited services. So, thank you.
Anyone? Comments, questions? Mr. Belkonis?
Greg, I have a couple of questions regarding your presentation.
Yes, sir.
Under your chart shows FY 2012 expenditure drivers. The salary pool number of 50, under retirements, I'm sorry, $50,000. That's an additional $50,000?
It would be.
So what would that take that line item to?
It's at 395, Sean, at this time.
And encompassed in that number are end-of-career buybacks?
Right, for town employees and school employees.
What are the buybacks? Can you spell those out, please?
It would be end-of-career sick leave buyback is what the primary amount is for.
The same chart, the Quinn bill,
Right.
that's an additional 157, or is that the total of the
No.
state obligation?
No, that's the state share that they're not paying.
But the town share is more than double that, correct?
Correct, the town share is already, yes.
The total Quinn bill number is?
Just see. Good question. We're gonna look that up. I
Okay,
don't
that's
wanna
fine.
delay you. in
I
your-
know it's for
your
something
question.
in
Well,
total.
we'll look it up and we'll give you the exact number.
$400,000.
Right.
It's close to 400.
And that's because the state was just paying on base salary,
That's right.
whereas the town pays the Quinn on base plus?
Correct. The Quinn bill weaves its way into, it includes any additional stipends that employees receive. And so there's a multiplier that's involved. And more importantly, it finds its way into the overtime rate. And as the overtime expenditures go up, it includes an amount that we do pay to the officers for their Quinn bill payment.
So once again, it's an unfunded mandate from the state. That's what it's, the category it's in now. Thank you.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair?
Heidi,
Heidi?
Hello, how's everyone?
Out of my line of sight, sorry.
I just, our chair of the non-union group wasn't here tonight, so I'm kind of winging this, wasn't expecting to speak. But first, I actually wanted to take the time in particular to thank Mr. O'Leary and Mr. Messeri, because they have been in it in the long haul with us for the last 6 years. I appreciate, and I'm sure all of our town government employees do as well, that you've taken the time to acknowledge that we have continued to take cuts on our side as well. And one thing I wanted to mention that had come up, one of the reasons why your hands are somewhat tied and you're down to essential services on the town government side is primarily statutory obligations, particularly when it comes to permitting. So in other words, if you don't have employees that are in place, what's going to happen is, because of statutory guidelines for things like zoning, planning, health, other things get automatically approved. When that happens, and when people are very upset and start to flood you guys with phone calls, you would then be paying town council to defend the town instead. So it's money that's going a lot higher up, whereas having the employees here is more helpful for you. And the only other thing I guess I'd like to say is that I can't speak with vast intelligence to every other department's statutory obligations, but I'm quite sure they're in the same boat as the permitting authorities are as well, in terms of there are essential services any municipality is required to provide under state law, and just that we will continue to try to work with you to make sure we get that accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any input or questions before I close the hearing? Mr. O'Leary.
just one of the things that I've been struggling with this year more than years in the past is a sense of fairness when it comes to how we treat our employees. And again, we're asking all to make sacrifices and come back and, in some cases, maybe even renegotiate some terms and conditions which they currently enjoy. But what I've seen, and I think the chairman pointed it out very well, is that over the last few years, there's been a strong commitment on the part of everybody who sat on this board over the years, not just the current members, to assist in maintaining a quality education for our school-age children in North Reading. And we've been able to do the best we can while also maintaining a certain level of services on the general government side. But what's happened over the last 2 to 3 years is, and it was, Mr. Delaney pointed out too, and the chairman, is that the contracts that have been negotiated on the school side are far different than what was negotiated here on the general government side. And that the most stark difference was this past year, where our general government employees took a 0% increase, held the line on step increases, and conversely, we saw anywhere from 5 to 8% increases on the school department salary side under their contracts. Now, we're asking our employees to come back to the table and talk and deal with us on health insurance. Well, an employee in the school department, an employee in general government have the same health insurance coverages, but a different pool of money and resources to pull it from. You know, there's some employees that have enjoyed a 5 to 8% salary increase, where general government hasn't stepped up and taken a 0. Yet the same level of increases and co-pays and deductibles, anything that may come down the line, the general government employees are are bearing a far greater burden than the school department employees. So, I have probably been one of the most sympathetic people on the Board of Selectmen in support of public education. But there's such a wide disparity taking place here. I have some major concerns in stepping up to the plate and making them whole totally. Last week, I alluded to it a little bit with the $163,000 in, shall we call it, savings in quotes in relation to the water department. And all it is a shifting of where it's going to be paid from. But there's going to be a $163,000 made available on a 67-33 split, where $109,000 is going to the school department, and well, $50,000 or so coming to general government. Yet, our employees in the general government side, we still don't have settled contracts. We're in the midst of some very good discussions and negotiations, but difficult ones also. And I can't blame the general government employee unions for being concerned about what's happening on the other side. And, I've sitting in on the negotiations and have for years. I see, whatever the school department does, we don't have any control over. Well, we may not have total control over it, but we really need to do something about it. And so when we're talking about not filling positions in the police department in order to maintain some guidelines within the budgetary constraints, revenue constraints, and we're talking about potentially cutting back in whether it be the health or inspectional services department, not filling other vacancies as we have over the past. We are at a bare bones a level of services on the general government side, and we're at the point where services are going to start disappearing. What's the solution? Again, I think the school department and the school committee has made some strides in the past negotiations, but as someone pointed out earlier, it's unsustainable. The current revenue stream, it's unsustainable. And as a result, prioritization of services as a whole, as a community, are being looked at constantly. And are we going to continue to deliver the same services that we have? We can't afford to do so. So I'm not at the stage where I'm ready to give up on any general government level of services, whether it be in the recreation. Again, we've pretty much transferred all of the revenue for recreation is pretty much fee-driven. Trash is fee-driven. We've been plucking away at these things for years in order to help and assist in maintaining a good quality education. It certainly does have a major impact on our property values. I mean, one of the greatest things that North Reading citizens could take their pride in is the school system, and it's struggling. So when it comes to health insurance, yes, we need the employees to come up and work with us on that. But I can tell you unequivocally, the general government employees are bearing a far greater burden than other employees of the town of North Reading, and I don't think it's fair. So I'm not so sure. I'm on board at 99.9% of where we're at here, but that's what I'm struggling with this year more than ever. So I just thought I would put that comment out there and hope that the people who are strong advocates for the schools understand that what's happening is, and the proposed cutbacks that are being proposed are nothing that the general government has done at all in causing those. I just think most of the responsibility still lies on that side of the table and over at the school department. So I think we will continue to do, and I will remain committed to continue to do what we can to maintain quality schools, but I also am not about to compromise public safety anymore or inspectional services beyond where we're at. So,
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you, Mr.
O'Leary. Any other comments? I'll close the public hearing. Thank everybody that's attended for that purpose. You're certainly welcome to stay. We're going to be talking about getting a recommendation from the water commissioners and voting on